So you have Toolbox Brands, which is like a collection of different subscription-based brands. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how Toolbox came to be. So we uh, essentially have started and we've acquired a few brands um, in obviously the e-commerce space. And we were thinking, all right, we need a bigger team to manage all these brands. And we didn't want to one of the things that's unique about us is we handle everything in house. The only thing we've ever outsourced is some creative work, which we've briefly spoken about, and then also we've outsourced some of our influencer marketing. But
Hmm.
other than that, I mean, from the top down, we handle it all in house. So our supply chain, our fulfillment, our media buying, most of our creatives, most things are done in house. And we're like asking ourselves, what's the most efficient way to do this? Because we'd grown so much, we had 5 brands in our portfolio. And the best way to do it was through an agency that we just plugged all of our brands into. So that's kind of how Toolbox came to be. It was like internal employees for each brand just kind of started working for Toolbox, and Toolbox plugged into all the brands. So yeah, kind of a unique way it was started. I have a business partner who owns a 3PL fulfillment center. So it's nice because when we buy a company, we can kind of just eliminate those two costs right out of the gate. We don't have to pay any agencies, and we don't have to pay any 3PL centers. I mean, we do, but it's at cost, right? So it kind of makes it so we can run a little faster and sprint a little harder.
Yeah, and what got you focused on subscription, or what gravitates you so much towards subscription?
Great question. So, I started drop shipping. That's where I got my start. I know it's sometimes taboo to say the word drop shipping because there's things that come with it. But yeah, I did drop shipping for a while and it worked quite well for me. And then um, it was during COVID. Uh, Obviously, drop shipping was out the door. You couldn't really ship from China anymore or ship from overseas for a few months. So we scrambled and got into just branded companies. And so we started a custom towel company. My wife and I started a tie dye jumpsuit company. And we also started, during that time, a supplement brand. And we kind of just threw everything at the wall we could, trying to just make it
Yeah.
work. And all three of those did quite well. All three brands did quite well. We made 2 exits, and I was kind of at a point where I was sitting on my hands, figuring out, all right, what's a way that I can always cover overhead and not have to fear when things like COVID happen, right? Because we don't know when something could go wrong, God forbid, and it was a horrible time. And so um, I have a business partner on one of our main brands, and he hit me up and said, "Hey, I have this company. Um, we're not really doing a whole lot with it. It's done really well in the past. Would you maybe like to partner with me on it?" So, um, yeah, I mean, I invested into it. I acquired 50% of the ownership over it, and we transitioned it into recurring revenue. And after a few months, we realized no one else was really focusing on recurring revenue first, subscription first. Everyone was doing subscriptions second, but no one was really doing it first. And yeah, it just kind of took off for us. And since then, we've done kind of recurring everything. We've done subscription boxes, we've done subscribe and save models, we've done buyers club models, we've kind of done it all. We just love subscriptions. They kind of allow you to always pay for your overhead, always pay for employees, and scale pretty aggressively as long as you know what you're doing. So yeah, kind of a long story, but
You were saying that brands focus on subscription second, not first. Is that what you said?
yeah. So if you look at a lot of the companies out there, um, I don't want to like throw any names out because a lot of these companies are still doing really well,
Yeah.
right? They don't have to
Yeah.
focus on subscriptions first. But if you look at a lot of companies out there, their subscription is secondary to their main offer. So they're trying to get you to buy. let's just use like a green supplement per se. They're trying to get you to buy a green supplement or a protein powder. And then secondary to you purchasing it, they're saying, hey, maybe if you want to save 10% and you like the product, um, come back or get on a subscribe and save model and we'll ship it to you monthly and you can save 10%. But that subscription model is always kind of secondary to getting people to just buy the initial product.
Hmm.
We focus really heavily on making the consumer, making it just far more valuable to the consumer to subscribe from the very get-go. So we don't want the subscription to be secondary. We want the subscription to be primary. And that's kind of what our whole model has been built around, especially recently. And I'm not going to lie and say that that's the greatest way to do things. There is downsides to that, right? Like sometimes people get really scared of the subscription, so they don't buy your product at all. But we found that if you can provide a customer with a tremendous amount of value, the actual lifetime value with a subscription is way, way higher. I don't know the exact numbers, but our lifetime value with a subscription, even at a cheaper cost, is way higher than our lifetime value without a subscription.
So I'm imagining those brands are doing the subscription second. It sounded like you were saying really the goal of acquisition, just to secure that first purchase.
Yeah, and kind of one of the issues with that is the front end acquisition isn't always easy to get. It isn't always hard, right? Sometimes it's just your creative. There's a lot of different things, but getting that person to come back a second time is hard, even if you have a great product, because there's so many products out there. And like, that's why we don't really do a whole lot with Amazon, is because you're just one in a million on Amazon, which I'm not against the Amazon model. I have a few friends who just do absolutely crazy numbers with Amazon, and it's exciting to see. But we like to be like, with a subscription, you can create kind of a one-on-one relationship with your customer. And you're essentially saying, hey, you no longer have to look elsewhere. You no longer have to do the work. You're with us now. And as long as you have a good product, they'll stay with you forever. Or we've seen on average people stay with us for about 8 months, which is pretty good. But yeah.
And I know you said, first of all, actually, 8 months sounds like a very good subscription runtime. I know you said as long as you really focus on providing enough value that people will subscribe. What mindset? I know this is going to be a little broad because there's so many niches and different product types, but what mindset do you have when you're creating offers for subscriptions?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, the offer has to be crazy, and the offer has to be like just so good. It's like you're dumb if you don't take it, right?
Hmm.
You never want to tie people. We don't really believe in contracts either. Um, we believe the product's gonna be so good they're gonna be happy with the subscription kind of thing.
Hmm.
No, there's no like 3 month or 4 month commitments per se. But the best way to think about an offer is like, what can I provide to someone for free, and how could I make money from it? And that sounds crazy, but um, like everyone, when they think of subscriptions and adding it to their company, they think so one dimensionally. Everyone thinks subscribe and save, subscribe and save, subscribe and save.
Hmm.
And the problem is that offer just doesn't convert. But if you believe enough in your product, I could say, hey, Colby, like try this for free today. And um, if you don't like it, just cancel. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like it, just cancel, no problems. Like we're not going to ask any questions, just cancel. But try it and you're going to love it. Like we believe in it so much so that you're going to love it. And sometimes giving things away for free, I mean, that's kind of a little bit old school. It's not working as well as it used to, but pairing things, like we know some companies who are pairing free product with your initial order, right? So like if you were selling a skincare product, you could pair like a face scrubber or something like that, really just giving like an overwhelming amount of value that you can afford on that initial purchase is standard. And then making sure you follow it up with really good SMS email sequences and really hammering it into the person like, hey, this is good, like it, you're gonna love it. This is what it can do for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, at least from the strategy side, when we're looking at creative in our agency, customer insights or just, customer responses can be huge. And I'm just imagining that can play in quite a bit to figuring out your offer or figuring out your subscription bundle or package or model as well.
Yeah.
Do you use customer insights? Do you have any specific tools or strategies or things you've done for pathways to translate customer insights into subscription models?
Are you asking like how are we tracking customers and data and whatnot to make decisions?
More so like if you notice a subscription's not working or you're trying to figure out what your subscription's going to be, have you seen any bonus of using like customer reviews or customer feedback or even just like engaging with customers to see what they'd want, like what they would find valuable as a offer?
Yeah, great question. Great question. That I believe that's why we have uh like a higher average of people staying with us is because
Mm-hmm.
the first thing we're asking people is like, what can we do better? What do you want? Right. So when you become a member of one of our companies, we're going to kind of bombard you with email sequences. And everyone thinks, oh, don't bombard people with email sequences. But ultimately, like if you don't want to see it, you just click on it and delete it. I think people overthink that too much. And the idea is we're going to send you emails every day for 2 weeks telling you what we have and then asking you, one, how you like it, two, how it could be better, and then three, is there anything else you want to see? So that's been a huge thing for us this year is how can we increase our customer lifetime value and how can we offer subscriptions that are worth more, right? We typically hover between the $15 or $50 price point, but there's some really good subscriptions we could offer if we were making enough money to cover the cost of it, and we could sell them for $200 or $300 a month. And people would pay for it if it was providing value. The problem is we don't know exactly what that is. But the nice thing is we have thousands of members who can tell us. So, yeah, I guess to answer your question, we do a lot of customer engagement. We'll email them, send them SMS messages, basically just asking for feedback. What can we do better? One thing we really want to implement is post-purchase surveys, and then also put survey systems within their accounts. So, or like a feedback section, right? Like a feedback box type of deal where they can go and leave feedback as to what maybe they want to see better. That's something that we've wanted to do for the last few months, and we finally started working on it. But yeah, I mean, we really believe in order to have a successful subscription, you got to have a relationship with your customers. And sometimes that means just kind of getting vulnerable with them and saying, what can we do better?
I love that. I'm actually interviewing the founder of No Commerce in 35 minutes.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, for post purchase survey. So excited to talk about that. I just made a note for the feedback box within membership because that might be something that like a recharge would do. But
Yeah.
that's a pretty cool idea as well. And there's, I mean, from my outside perspective, there's two main sections of issues with the subscription. It's going to be, like you were saying, front end acquisition, getting people to purchase, and then getting people to stay on, right? Um, what would you say some of the biggest bottlenecks are that cause subscribers to drop off? Not necessarily pertaining to your brand or specific brand, but just kind of general speaking.
Yeah, you're always like naturally you're going to get people who take advantage of the offer and just cancel, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'd argue we've all done it at some point, right? Like
yeah,
I've seen maybe a supplement. I'm like, oh, like I could subscribe and say I get it, and then I just drop off, right? So like ultimately you're gonna run into that problem. One thing though is people stop at that point. Like if you signed up for, let's say you signed up to subscribe and save on some protein powder, right? I mean, not everyone, but everyone knows what protein powder is.
Mhm.
You might not be inclined to stay for 4 or 5, 6 months because you're just getting the same thing every month. But if you can figure out how to offer more than just protein powder, maybe every other month you're sending like our favorite workout of the month or something, or they get access to a bunch of content made by a coach as well, right? That's like different workout programs. I mean, that's not that hard to provide either. Yeah, it costs you more, but it also increases your lifetime value. So like no matter what, you're going to get people who see offers and just take it and cancel real quick. And there's nothing you can really do about those people. You just have to factor that into risk assessments. But for the maybe other 80% of people who are just trying it, try to provide more value than just that one subscription, right? Everyone kind of stops and just relies and piggybacks off of the one initial offer. But if you can keep providing more and more and more and more, I mean, there's 100 different things you could do too for a protein powder. You could provide digital content. You could send them a free shaker bottle in their second order, or have like a rewards program after 4 months. We'll switch you to save 20% instead of 10%, so you're further inclined to stay for longer. I mean, you could provide other products. Hey, we're sampling this product, send samples in orders, because I'm sure if you sell protein, you probably sell BCAAs or greens, or you know what I mean? There's a ton of different
Mhm.
things, but everyone kind of stops. They offer that base subscription and then they just think it's gonna coast. And you just have to continue to like innovate it and offer more and more and more. You also have to know too your break even point. A lot of people have a really hard time with that, especially because they typically lose money on their initial order with subscriptions. So you really have to optimize and figure out exactly when you're breaking even on your average sub. Um, so you can figure out like what to maybe subtract, maybe what to add, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one with the, I'll say, traditional subscription model. I don't know if I'm
Oh,
accurate with that, but I think a lot of brands were just naturally aiming to lose money on the front order, or accepting losing money on the front order to get people into the subscribing thing, like, the shave clubs and things like that.
yeah.
And as CPAs keep rising, or CPMs keep rising on acquisition channels, that model has just become more and more
Yeah.
difficult if a brand doesn't have their month subscription average figured out.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a content game, right? It's a, like, your business is only what you own data wise. And I guess what I mean by that is like if you're not, in regards to advertising, especially, I know I'm going to be preaching to the choir here because you're a wizard with that stuff, but you really got to build out your lists. You got to figure out really effective ways to grab SMS numbers. You got to kind of use
Mhm.
what we call a vortex strategy, right? You can't just
Yeah.
piggyback off of just Facebook anymore. I mean, 5 years ago, you could scale a company to 100 million off of just
Yeah.
Facebook ads, right? But we found now you got to have, you know, Google dialed in, you got to have Facebook dialed in, TikTok dialed in. And yeah, like we typically lean a little harder on Facebook, but if Facebook, God forbid, shut down tomorrow, we would still be able to grow through other channels and diversification and through all of our lead grabs and things like that. And I think people, they focus too much on the purchase, and I've always believed that when a customer gives you a phone number, that's a purchase. When they give you their email, that's another purchase. When they give you, and then when they give you their credit card number or their address, that's another purchase. So by the time a customer comes to your store and goes through the full life cycle, they should have made 2 or 3 purchases at least, right? But if you only grab one email or one SMS number and you have those channels dialed in, that'll help you get your actual acquisition cost down significantly. So one thing I recommend to people when they start is try to dial all of this stuff in before you start, right? At least, like, obviously you're going to have to adjust, but try to get all of those sequences and stuff made before you even launch. A lot of times people will launch and just kind of do it as they go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really recommend doing that. But if you look at companies like Amazon, Amazon's big thing is Amazon Prime, right? They make, I would argue, like a huge chunk of their money just from Prime. And
Mm-hmm.
Prime started as 2-day shipping. But now if you look at Prime, I get to watch football on Thursday nights. I
Yeah.
get Prime Video, Prime Music. I get certain deals because I'm a Prime member, right? Like they've continued to just add and add and add and add to this $20 a month subscription. And they've dumped billions of dollars into it. And I would actually argue Amazon and Costco have done the best job with their subscriptions. Amazon is a subscription first company.
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, at this point, Amazon almost feels like a mandatory purchase, like a mandatory subscription. It's like you just
Yeah.
need to have
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you need toothpaste tomorrow, you just go
it.
order it on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, the money you save from the purchases, because you get percentage off for things, you can get same day orders now. They've done a really good job at that, and adapting it into the lifestyle. I think one interesting thing with subscription software is because they've updated. I feel like they used to be kind of clunky. I'm sure there's still optimizations, but a lot of subscription softwares, at least for Shopify now, have updated things to where like there's flexibility, so people can opt out of a certain month or like push their reorder date back,
It is.
right? And I think that type of innovation or that type of update helps keep or helps reduce churn from customers so that you can actually keep them on board, because having too much product is another problem that often is an indicator of bigger issues of not integrating it into your lifestyle. But those types of updates with the tech definitely help with it also.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's a great point, honestly. Like the ability to push back, especially with the where you're sending someone goods monthly. Like sometimes people don't need it and sometimes if you're
Mm-hmm.
selling like magnesium, sometimes people don't take it every day. They take it every other day,
Yeah.
right? So a 2-month subscription is perfect for them.
Yeah. And I got a pretty weighted question for you here, but can any and every brand have a subscription offer?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is something that I preach to because we help companies now accelerate their subscription process. So sometimes we'll step in when a company's maybe struggling with an offer or figuring out how to set up a subscription because they've, have a traditional B2C model. But yeah, without a doubt, I think I actually like people think I'm pretty crazy when I say this, but I love subscriptions so much. I think that 70+% of the things we purchase are going to be through subscriptions within the next
Hmm.
5 to 10 years. And I would argue that we're already even there. Honestly, like Walmart has a subscription. I think Nike has one.
Hmm.
Um, Amazon, obviously, tons of commerce is done on their subscription base. Taco Bell has a subscription. Like the opportunity for subscribe and save is there. It doesn't always have to be physical goods either. It could be digital. It could be service based stuff. Like I know a lot of auto detailing business are cracking into the subscription base. We'll come detail your car monthly. Same with car washes. I don't know about the East Coast, but in Utah, I mean, there's a car wash on every single corner now, and you can pay 30
Yeah, they
bucks a
have them.
month and get your car washed at any time you want. And I know people here just go
Hmm.
crazy over it. My wife loves it. So, uh, yeah, I firmly believe, I mean, obviously some things like you can't sell backpacks on a subscription model,
Hmm.
but the audience you're selling backpacks to, if they're a hiking audience and you're selling like water backpacks, like camelbacks, you could sell them service-based hiking tips, like there's every audience has a subscription. Every single company, I believe, should have a subscription. It'll help them keep the lights on. It'll help them always pay their employees. It's just, I think it's a necessity for all businesses if they want to truly be successful.
And I've seen, at least it's new to me, but I've seen membership apps popping up to where like it's like a new version of subscription, if you will. But it's do you have any thoughts on membership versus subscription? Have you looked into that at all?
Membership, do you mean like when you become a member, you get discounted goods, things like that, like Fabletics? Is that kind of what you're mentioning?
Yeah, like a membership app to where like you pay basically for a non-tangible, which is the membership. So you pay 10, 20, $30 for the membership. And then, yeah, you get better shipping, better deals off. You get limited or early access to new releases, things like that.
So that's our bread and butter right now, actually,
Okay.
is that the point of diminishing returns comes quicker. With those, there's only so much bandwidth a lot of times with those, unless you have just a tremendous amount of margin in your product. So it's a very lucrative space, but you got to make sure the consumer knows what they're getting. And if you're going to do membership model stuff, I'm all for that. Obviously, Costco does that. We do that. We have like 40 to 50,000 members right now. If you're going to do that, though, you have to be engaged with your customers to constantly be reminding them to use their membership. Because this is
Mm.
actually, and I don't want to go on too much on this tangent, but the reason subscriptions have worked in the past is because it's convenient, right?
Mm.
So if I order a protein powder on a subscription, it's coming to me monthly. I don't even have to think about it. But a lot of times when you become a member, it's not necessarily convenient unless you're constantly reminded of it. So Netflix, I would argue, is a membership model. You become kind of a member of Netflix, and then they provide you with a suite of videos. Netflix email me almost every single day telling me what shows they think I'll like, what shows they want me to go watch. Because with the membership model, in order to get your lifetime value high, you have to get your members to use it. And
Mm.
so that's where that like kind of two-way conversation becomes just extremely important. And we've seen a lot of people launch membership model companies and they fail fast and fail hard because they kind of stop once someone becomes a member. I like to treat membership model companies like a service. So uh, the breathwork meditation brand we have, I've shared that with you. Um, we deliver a lot of our videos and content to people. So we're delivering them new product, right? Like, hey, you have exclusivity to this product. If you want it, you can get it now at 70% off, similar to Fabletics. So we'll deliver that to them, but then we'll also deliver like new breathwork videos that our yogi's producing. We'll text them those videos and we'll say, hey, like, because you're a member, watch this video. It'll help you sleep better, or it might help relieve anxiety or stress or whatever, right? But we treat membership model companies like they're service-based companies. You have to be servicing your customers.
Do you feel that if you're going with the membership route, you need a bit of branding or brand awareness as well? Or do you think that's not an element? Because when you say like Fabletics or like if Lululemon or something did it, there's a bit of I don't say pride for the customer in having membership, but there's a little bit of excitement to have those deals.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think Lulu or not Lulu, Fabletics scaled because of their influencer partnerships.
Hmm.
People saw Kevin Hart and they're like, "Oh, I want to like, I kind of want to be like that." And I can't remember who the girl is that they. She's really cool. I always forget her name though. I feel bad, but I know a lot of girls joined because they really liked her, and I do think they provided that like branding, right? If you look at Audit Nutrition, they're not really membership based, but Joe Rogan. Um, Joe
Hmm.
Rogan and now I think Jake Paul is a big part of them, and they're huge. I mean, they're a big brand, but I think having a positive, influential person be a part of your brand helps a lot with the branding. We don't have any real, like, our yogi's amazing, and so we brand what she does quite a bit. We want people to feel like they have a good relationship with her, and we hope they have a good
Hmm.
relationship with her. Um, but yeah, we run. That's a great question because we haven't partnered with any influencers, we do have to run a lot of top of funnel, just
Hmm.
branding campaigns, right? Just basically, this is the importance of breath work. This is the importance of meditating. This is how we can help. And we're not even really selling anything with those videos. It's just true top of funnel, like awareness for the cause sort of videos. And we found that those have helped us tremendously with branding. But yeah, I would argue branding something that kind of just happens over time, but you should position yourself to accelerate your branding if you can.
Awesome. And Connor, if you had to summarize everything we discussed today into a marketing mindset, what mindset should marketers or business owners have when it comes to subscription?
Value. What can I provide someone that's beneficial for them and also for myself, right? So how can I, and at what cost? You have to sacrifice with subscriptions, but it's worth it. And if you can keep your members happy, it's worth it. So when you're thinking about the subscription, just how much value can I give? Um, and then marketing's easy, right? Like if I'm giving away, if I can provide you with a ton of things, like if you're teaching me football and you tell me that you learned from Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Patrick Mahomes, you can provide me all that value. It's like, cool, of course I'll come subscribe to have you be my
Yeah.
coach. So the marketing's easy when the value's there. That's all. That's what I guess I would recommend.
And for anyone listening that's at the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, what role or roles in marketing do you think will have the highest demand in the next 3 to 5 years?
With subscriptions or just with marketing in
Is
general?
yeah, marketing in general.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a very loaded question. Um, I think consumer psychology, uh, and the ability to stand out as a copywriter. Chat GPT is awesome, but the best people at marketing can outperform Chat GPT. And I think, you know, it, media buying is obviously important. Um, learning how to use Klaviyo, email marketing, things like that. But all of those things, the most important aspect of them is consumer psychology, knowing how to put it in front of the right person at the right time, and copywriting, I would say. Um, and I would argue a lot of people will disagree with me on that one because of AI. I think a lot of people would say that copywriting is going to become a thing of the past, but I think AI is going to eliminate a lot of the people who weren't very good at marketing. And it's going to make it a lot more competitive for the people who are. And I think copywriting is going to be a great way to stick out. If you can write better than AI, then you'll be successful.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'll do that just exactly. It'll eliminate the need for um, this is not the politically correct term, but like low dollar charging talent, if you will, like
Yeah.
people that are entry level, and really add room for the experts to charge more for their services,
Yeah.
just because there's such more awareness of how skilled they are with it. And last question for you: tell us, where can listeners connect with you or learn more about your businesses? Because there's multiple.
Yeah. So we're kind of in the process of redoing our website right now to be more of an accelerator for subscription-based companies that are already established. But yeah, you can connect with us through there. It's just www.toolboxbrands.com. Any questions, if you submit it to the contact us form, that'll come straight to me. Um, yeah, follow us on Instagram if you want. I'm not super active with business stuff on Instagram. It's mostly just my dog and my wife. But yeah, I mean, those are two great ways to get in contact with me. always willing to help people out and share some insight in regards to setting up their subscription models and stuff. Sometimes just the actual software setup of it can be quite robust in the early stages. So yeah, always willing to help where we can, and that's a good way to connect with us is just through the website.
Cool. Connor, well, I appreciate you coming on today. This was a great episode.